Good morning, everybody, and welcome to my channel. Where today I want to have another mom to mom chat. And before I get started, I will ask you all to please take the time to like and subscribe to my channel because that will open the door for other people to get a chance to look at my videos and join the community as well. And I also want to say that I didn't start this channel because I want to be monetized. If I am monetized, that's great, but that's not why I started this channel. The reason why I did start this channel is because I want other people to know that you're not alone and that there are other people that are in this predicament too. And so that's why I started this channel. So I also want to say, okay, today's topic is if there isn't already enough stigma attached to mental illness as it is, if it's not already enough to have one child, no matter the age, who is struggling with their mental health, and what happens when there are multiple children in the same family. What happens, or how do you feel if, as a parent, you have more than one child who is struggling with their mental illness? If you're in that situation, please comment in the comment section about what's going on with your situation and how many of your kids are affected with this too. So I want to say that I belong to support groups. The support group, one of the ones that I belong to is, it falls under the National Alliance for Mental Illness offerings. It's one of the things that they offer. They also offer like family to family classes, which are fantastic. And then, people can like break off, because when I was taking the family to family class, that class lasted like 12 weeks. And now they've trimmed it down to 8 weeks. But when you're in that class, you will definitely form a bond with those people because it may be the first time you've been able to talk freely about, your family member that has a mental illness. And then you're able to get rid of the stigma. You can talk openly without worrying about stigma. And, it's just comforting to see that there are other people in the same situation as you are. And so in the family to family groups, it's very structured. And at one point, they tell everybody that this is the day where you tell your story. And you only get because it can be 20 or more people in these classes. So you get like a short amount of time to tell your story, and it's on that particular day. Because as I said, family to family classes are very structured. And so even like during the other classes, because they go over things in the classes like medications and the side effects, and they also have guest speakers. And so there's a lot of things going on. So during the other classes, it's kind of like when people start going into what's going on with them specifically, the instructors will put the brake on that and say, save that for class number 3 or class number 4, because that's when everybody can go around the room and tell their story. And so when that night came for me, when I was taking the class, because I also turned around and went to the trainer classes, and I became an instructor for the classes, later on. But as a student and I took that class, I couldn't even get through the story about my son without crying. I couldn't get through it. So I didn't even tell my story. I was only able to tell my story later on when I took the training class. And like I said, when I took that class, the class was 12 weeks long. And at some point during that class, my son ended up in jail. At that time, he was always in and out for one reason or another. And so I couldn't even, get through that part. But until now, I've never even talked about the fact that I have other kids that have also struggled with their mental illness as well. And it's something, there's already stigma attached to mental illness. But then if you turn around and say, well, this is what's happening to this kid, but also this is what happened, this is what's going on with these other kids, people are definitely going to be looking at you like, maybe it's you, maybe it's your husband that's causing the problem. Maybe it's y'all's fault. Like, what are you guys doing? And so I don't even with closely related family members, I don't even tell a lot of them about it. It's certain of my siblings that I feel like I can talk to them about it, and others I feel like they'll talk to you about it, but they just want to talk to you about it because they want to gossip. They want to get all this information from you and then go back and talk to the other family members, the other siblings, and talk about you. Especially if it's a situation where, like, sibling rivalry does exist. And so if you're one of the ones, because there's like a total of 5 of us and I'm the middle, I have an older brother and sister, and I have 2 younger siblings, and I have who are males. And so, and then I also have another sibling that I didn't even know about until literally 2019, I want to say. My youngest brother is, let me do the math. He is 6 years younger than me. And then my parents got married. I'm not going to go into the whole background, but I do want to give you some background information about my family. And so my youngest sibling, who is now deceased, he's a male, and apparently my father, because my parents were teenagers when they got married, and they had 3 kids back to back to back, and then there was a break in between, and then I have 2 younger siblings, same parents. And so we'll come to find out, my father had gotten another woman pregnant while my mother was pregnant with my youngest sibling. And we didn't even know that that sibling existed until 2019. And because of forums like Ancestry.com, that sibling actually contacted us via Ancestry.com and let us know of her existence. And then the strange thing is, I feel like this sibling, who I've only known for how many years is that? Like going on maybe 7 years now. I feel like me and that sibling, who didn't even know each other, we didn't grow up in the same house together, but I feel like she's someone I can talk to more so than my other sister. We grew up in the same family. But as you all know, there's all kinds of dynamics going on in the household when you're growing up. So you got the siblings that are the favorites, and that creates animosity between that sibling, at least it can, and those siblings that are not the favorite because they get treated differently. And so, we had those dynamics in our family. And so that's one of the reasons why I feel like I can, relate more to this other sibling, because in her family too, she wasn't the favorite. And so we have that in common. And then I just think overall, our personalities, our life history, we just went closer to the same route. Whereas I was born in small town, southern USA, but I went to college in southern USA, but then I moved away after college. And then the sibling that I didn't know until 2019, she was in the military, and she has traveled. And then, we have, after that, she and I took similar life paths. And so, as I was saying, I feel like I could talk to her. She knows what's going on, and I don't have to worry about her going back, just using it as gossip for other family members. My older brother, who I did grow up in the same household with, he, I think with us, it's more of a competitive thing. Like, it's like she's got this, and maybe he built a life for himself, but I also get that feeling that it's like, well, she thinks she's so perfect, but hey, y'all, this is what's going on in her family type things. People like to bring you down. And so he may know that my one child has this illness, but we don't talk about it in depth. I have another brother, the one that's just under me. He has struggled with his own personal mental health issues, and that being the case, I feel comfortable talking with him. We don't talk about it often, but he is someone that I would feel comfortable talking to this situation about. And I don't think he would just go run and tell other family members this is what she has going on. And so then my youngest brother, who is now deceased, if he were still alive, he is somebody that I could trust and have honest conversation with about what is going on, because just different issues that he had with his family life situation, not involving mental illness, but just the issues that come about when you're raising children. Because a lot of times we all know that may not go. Raising children, when you got started, you had all kinds of dreams and an idea of what family life was going to look like for you. And it has a way of detouring and taking a different path. So, so anyway, the point that I'm getting at is it's enough having one child. It's enough parenting one child with a mental illness. But when you have more than one child, I know I felt embarrassed because of that. And doing this video today is the first time I've ever even talked about it. So in the NAMI support groups, getting back to NAMI, the support groups kind of get started. Like when you're in the family to class together, it can be upwards of 30 people in those classes. And there have been occasions when people in the class have kind of, after the class ended, have kind of broken off and say, hey, let's continue to get together, like, once every 2 weeks or once a month or whatever. And then we can just, sit around and discuss and talk about things, because we are not alone. We have this community that we have built together. And so I have gone to, before the pandemic, it was really great because we would have the support groups in person. And typically it would be like a handful of moms and a sprinkling every now and then of a dad would come as well. And so, but it would be on the tip of my tongue, even when I was taking the family to family class, even when I took the training class, I would be thinking, well, I have this other situation going on with my other child as well. But I was just always thinking, I don't want to mention it because people are going to look at me like there's something going on with you and something going on with your husband. There's something going on with your parenting. So even though I wanted to talk about, what was going on with one of my other kids, I never did. And even in these support groups, which I really enjoyed going to, I never brought up that I was having these other issues with with one of my daughters. And without going into a whole lot of detail, this particular child, now a young adult, when she was in high school, even before then really, we had taken her to see a specialist because she's very smart, but her social skills were definitely lacking. And so when she went to this specialist, she was diagnosed with like being on the autism spectrum. And so that all makes sense because from my understanding, people on the spectrum they tend to be really smart, but they just don't really click with other people. And until this day, she doesn't have any friends. She has never had friends all through school. And so she's gotten, better with that. But like right now, next week, I'm actually going on a cruise. Not because I necessarily want to go on a cruise, but she was going to go by herself. And I felt really uncomfortable with that. And so, but I didn't bring it up. She did. She asked me if I would come with her. And because I didn't want her to go by herself, I'm now going on a cruise next week. But it's going to be something short, like 4 days and 3 nights. But anyway, back to, especially when she got to high school, we reached a point where we actually had to, because her behavior had taken such a strange turn. I actually talked to the pediatrician about it. And so the pediatrician recommended this clinic for me to contact. And initially, when I called the clinic, because they offer different things, you could go there and just talk to like you can go there to just get like therapy, like going like once a week or whatever. You could also they had like a residential part to it as well. And then they also had, which is the part that we enrolled her in, you could, instead of going to school, the school would send, they would let they would give assignment to the parents. The parents could go get the textbooks or the assignments or whatever. And instead of going to school, they would go to this place for 8 hours during the day. And they would do group therapy. It was a mixture of like teenage boys and girls, and sometimes they would break off, and the girls would just do things with the girls, and the boys would break off into sessions with other boys. Sometimes they would have mixed. They would have time during the day to get their schoolwork, and then once a week, the parents had to come in, and you had to do like a family therapy. And so overall, I thought it was good, and I do think my daughter kind of benefited from this. When she first got there, she actually liked it because, particularly the sessions when she was with other teenage girls. But she didn't like the sessions when they mixed with the boys. She said that she felt like the boys were kind of obnoxious. So anyway, but some of the things that she was doing. My husband has a sister, now deceased, but she's mentally challenged. So she was, she never had the mentality of an adult. And so one Christmas, she came over and like spent like a few days with us, along with my husband's mother. And so the sister's hygiene wasn't that great. And so there apparently were situations when she would use the bathroom and like leave remnants, on the toilet. And when my daughter seen that, she just stopped, not even wanting to use like the shower because her aunt had used the shower. And so my daughter literally stopped showering. And so she was going to school looking, like she was homeless. She, it just wasn't a good situation. And at first, I don't even think I made the connection to this, but she was just acting out in different ways. And particularly with me too, but in particular with my husband. And so my husband, my other son, the one that I talk about more on this video, my husband didn't really believe, he's one of those people, he didn't believe that people actually had mental health issues. Now he does, but then not so much. He felt like they were just doing things deliberately. And that's apparently how he felt with my daughter too. And so he would, I felt like he would gaslight her. He would do things to deliberately, annoy her. So, like she could be in the kitchen preparing something to eat, and I do the same thing. If I'm in the kitchen, I really don't want other people around me while I'm trying to move into the kitchen. And I find it annoying when somebody comes into the kitchen. And the only person that really does this anyway is my husband. But he comes into the kitchen and he's sniffing around. Oh, what are you cooking? And I'm just thinking, can I be left alone so I can focus on what I'm doing? And so she would be in the kitchen doing this or that, and then he would never fail to come into the kitchen and start snooping around. Oh, can I taste this? Can I do? And he knew good and well that she didn't want him there in the kitchen with her. On one occasion, I had bought her. She hoarded. That was another thing that she had. Her room was just like if you've seen that show Hoarding, then that's how her room looked. It was just nasty with food and empty wrappings and soda cans and all this stuff on the floor. It was really disgusting. And so at one point I had, completely gutted that room, and I put new carpeting in there and painted the walls and just did all this stuff to make her room look the way it should look. And then I also had gone to Kohl's and I bought her a new comforter. And she really liked the comforter, and then she was putting it on her bed. And then my husband came into the room another way. I think he was gaslighting her. And he touched the comforter. He's like, "Oh, this is nice. Where did you get this from?" And you could just see the expression on her face. And I felt like it was done deliberate. So I packed it back up. I put it back in the little plastic bag that comforters come in, and I took it back to Kohl's and I got her another one identical to that one, just to prove the point. We know what you were doing. We know that you did that on deliberately. So yes, that's how he is, and that's a whole nother video. So I'm going to leave that alone for now. But at any rate, the pediatrician recommended that she go to this place. And so the school, of course, where I live at, it's kind of like a wealthy county. And so they will even give, if your child is struggling like that, they will even give rides to school. You know, back then, because this was like in maybe 13-ish, they would, there were no lifts. I think Uber was just getting started, but they would send a taxi. Like, they don't want that in their school. They don't want somebody struggling with a mental health issue in their school. So they will, like, hey, we can get her there. We'll send taxis to get her there. You know, we didn't use the taxi service that the school was offered. Things happen for a reason, and just so happened when all of this was going on, I worked the day shift and I changed my hours so I didn't have to be there till 9. This clinic didn't open up until like 8, and we would literally be standing outside the door by 7:59. As soon as the doors open, you know, she could go in, I could sign her in and leave. And then my husband was working. Yes, I had to involve him. You had to involve him in the therapy as well. Which was a good thing, because you had to get to the bottom of, like, why is this going on? Like, why does she have so much animosity? Why does she have animosity toward her parents? Why so much animosity toward her dad in particular? And to be honest, I can understand. Like, I know that when people have when people are struggling with anorexia, I get it, because that's the way that they can control. They may not be able to control other things that are going on in their life, but they can control what they eat. And so I think that what she was doing was her way of getting some kind of control. So we had this issue going on with her, and then we had this other issue going on with my other child, who was eventually diagnosed with schizophrenia. So parenting definitely did not turn out the way I thought it was going to look like. And there was even an occasion when my son was in jail, and I was taking this child to therapy, and I was literally driving past the jail on my way to therapy with this child. So can you imagine, you know, just what an awful situation that was? Definitely something that I didn't see coming when I first started having kids. So at any rate, all that was going on. I would say that, and I never brought this up, you know, in these support groups or the NAMI classes that I attended, because I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed because I felt like it made me look bad. And a lot of times when you're talking to people about, you know, mental illness, and I find that in particular in the Black community, that's an issue that people shy away from. It makes people uncomfortable. They don't know what to say. And so, you know, I just didn't bring it up. And I didn't even bring it up, like I said, even in the classes. So at this point, a lot of this stuff that was going on with my daughter over time, it got better, although I think she still has a really difficult personality. And I think that she does lack empathy, because on one occasion, and I'm going to wrap this up soon, but there was one occasion when I was going to a NAMI meeting. I was out of the home, because these NAMI, the family to family classes, they lasted like 2.5 hours. And where I took the class at, I had to drive in an area that I wasn't familiar with. And so I was afraid to be out of the home, because you just never know what was going to happen in the home with all this stuff going on. And so there was an occasion when I came home, and she had locked my son out of the house. And I don't know what he was doing. And at this point, she may have actually was she out of school? But the thing was, I was like, don't lock him out of this house. Don't lock him out of this house, because one of my biggest fear for my son is that he would be out in public acting a certain way, and my biggest fear is that he would be unalived by the police. So I'd rather he be in the house. And when I got home, I found out she had locked him out of the house. And so once I got home and I found this out, I was taking the dog out for a walk, and a police cruiser came driving by. And I flagged him down, and I was like, is there an issue, officer? And he said, well, there were calls about somebody shouting and doing this and that. And I told him that is probably my son, and this is the issue with him. And I'm going to make a whole nother video about what happened, because this officer, he was a young white guy. He was such a good person. I'm touched by what he did, because I told him what was going on, and he actually left, and my son was located in another neighborhood close by. That officer came back to my house, and he told me, we've located him. Will you follow me to where he's at, and you get him and you take him home? And so I followed him, and my son was there in the street. Other police officers were already there, and he was like, this is her son. She's going to take him home. And I got him, and I took him home. And so I'm going to do a whole nother video about this police officer and what he did, because that really touched my heart to this day, and just fills me with emotion that he did that. But at any rate, again, I just wanted to say that if you guys have experienced having multiple kids in the family with a serious mental illness, let us know about it in the comments. Because again, this is a community where I want it to be a safe place for people to talk about things like this. And then again, please like and subscribe to this video so this channel will grow. So until the next video, I will talk to you guys another time.